everybody. Welcome to another edition of Turtle Tuesday with Turtle Island. Thank you so much for joining us. So today we're going to be talking about the genus Kinosternon. And the reason that we're going to be talking about this genus is because this week we had our 100th clutch of the year. And what that means for some of you who may not be turtle or bird geeks, like lots of us, a clutch is the total number of eggs that one turtle or one bird has at one time. So that means that in 2023, we've had 100 turtles lay eggs. So it was pretty exciting, and that is the genus Kinosternon. Within the genus Kinosternon, there are 22 species. At Turtle Island, we have 18 of them. But just like last week, as I was getting ready for Turtle Tuesday, I happened to walk past a very adorable hatchling, which is not a Kinosternon, but I thought it was too adorable to pass up for today. And so this is what's called a Malaclemys terrapin or a diamondback terrapin. They're indigenous to the United States, and this one just hatched yesterday, and its little egg yolk sac was a little bit big, so we kept it just in paper towel overnight, and today it went in water. And I just emptied its water and brought it in this little container so it could come on to Turtle Tuesday to show the world, because you are so adorable. You just had to make it, and I couldn't pass by you today just to come on over here. So maybe every week we end up with a little adorable turtle for the beginning of our edition, if I can't make it past the baby section. Okay, so back to our focus of this week, which is the Kinosternons. Kinosternons are a genus what's called mud turtles. I know, very sexy, mud turtles. And mud turtles are indigenous to North America, Mexico, Central America, and South America. They are called mud turtles because they burrow into the mud in the hot season, and that's actually what's called estivation. A lot of people know hibernation, and hibernation occurs in the winter when it's cold. Estivation occurs when it gets either too dry or too hot, and these animals burrow into the mud, and they can actually, some of these species and individuals have been known to be buried in the mud for up to 2 years, just waiting for the rains to come. And so they're actually of interest for studies for humans for kidney disease, and how do they survive? How can they survive such long periods of drought and still be healthy, and as soon as the rain comes, they're ready to go. So there's another thing called brumation, but that's for real turtle geeks, and that's a big issue for debate, which we won't get into this week. But we've brought not all 18 of the species that we have, but just a few of them to discuss them. And Peter Prawshaw, the founder of Turtle Island, will give a little bit more information about specific species today.
All right, yeah. So they're also kind of interesting because very recently they were listed under CITES. That means they are protected internationally. So the trade with that genus is prohibited. That means we all had to list our animal stock to the authorities. And now we need export and imports permit if we want to go for an exchange, or even if we want to send back endangered species into the wild. So some paperwork to do. I'm going to show you some species you don't see every day. We have a pretty big breeding group of Kinosternon angustipons, which are also called the narrow-bridged mud turtle. This species occur in Costa Rica and Panama. You see, they have a very pointed snout. Not a lot of breeders or zoos are keeping them. They are not that easy to breed. They need a diapause. That means the first 6 to 8 weeks we put the eggs in very moderate temperature, between 15 to 18 degrees Celsius, and then we put them into the incubator. We have a low hatching rate, about only 30%, but we have a pretty big breeding group inherited by Walter Sachse. Walter's favorite turtle genus were these Canasternons. So those are originally from him. These are already captive bred. So here are two little girls which are now about 4 years old. And the only species which looks damn similar to this narrow-bridged Kinosternon angustibans is the even more rare and even more unknown Kinosternon dunni. And I have here one. This one occurs only in Colombia, in the region of the Choco, so this is hardly accessible. There is always some riots going on, so it's really hard to get into that area. It's way bigger than angustibans. This is a juvenile of a female, but actually it grows 3 to 4 times as large as it is now, and you see that they are pretty similar looking. They both have a goofy nose. The males, they really have a very pointed, hooked nose, as you can see in the small female, but in males it's much more distinct.
What purpose does the pointed nose serve? A question from Emily.
Yeah, probably they can use it like a snorkel and don't have to pop up with a big portion of the head and stay more hidden when they are breathing underwater, is my guess. So they have strong jaws. Some of them are eating snails or little mussels or shrimp. They have a nasty bite, so they cannot bite or strike very quickly, but when they bite you, it's pretty painful. So they have strong jaws with strong muscles. And these two species, they can, and most of them have hinges on the plastron, and they can close their shell. These two species are an exception. They can't, but I can show you another species which can. Let me see. Just reach down here. That is really an old animal from Walter Sachse, probably 60 years in captivity. And here you see these two enormous hinges. They are movable, and this species, this is Leucostomum, can completely close its shell, and then is also protected from getting dehydrated. So it's a protection against dehydration as well. So the species which can close themselves up pretty well, those occur more in temporary water bodies. The species which can't, they live in more stagnant water bodies which have water all year long.
And you can see that some of these are, as he was saying, that they can close themselves up, but there is some discussion because if you may have followed a few weeks ago, we had the Canasternum vocti, or vocti, depending on how you'd like to say it, and those come from Mexico, and they also are not able to completely close up, but do estivate and spend quite a bit of time in the mud in dried areas. And so initially people thought, oh, well, if they can't close up and they are more exposed, then they're more likely to dehydrate, which makes common sense, but that doesn't always seem to be the case. So we're always learning from these animals, and they have much to teach us, and unfortunately, like the Vocti, they have to move from their summer or from their winter water area to their summer estivating areas. Not always, but sometimes there's a small migration where they might have to cross just a field or somewhere, and now we've put in roads and all kinds of obstructions and really fragmenting their habitat, and this is causing a big problem because you can see these are not large species, so they're very hard to see on the road, and they have a pretty high road fatality rate if their pattern is to go from one area to another that has to cross the road. So it's pretty unfortunate for them. Does Peter Brashoff, do you have someone else to show? I see you found somebody else.
I just kept one which is pretty easy to distinguish from all other species, because this one has only a mobile front lobe, but more or less non-mobile hind lobe. So this is a species occurring in quick flowing, moving rivers and little creeks. So this is Kinosternon herreri from Veracruz, South Mexico. We have a nice breeding group. I think in the very upcoming days we have the first hatchling. We have this species just for a year, also inherited by Walter Saxe. That's the only male we have. We have 5 females, and the first egg is going to hatch in a few days. I saw the embryo moving in the egg today, actually.
Well, I think that's all the time that we have, and hopefully next week I'll be able to do my cute, adorable hatchling with a Kinosternon baby. And I just want to thank you all for joining us again this week. And please, if you'd like to support turtles, turtle conservation, go on our Facebook page, like us, share our posts, go on our website, join our newsletter, make a donation. We cannot do this without you. We really appreciate and need your support. So thank you very much. Have a wonderful week.